This is the Moron Rants podcast with Matt Lamont and Andrew Dees, episode number 5, released Friday the 28th of May 2021. Moron Rants podcast is back. It's myself again, as always, with Andrew Dees joining me here tonight.
Hello, hello.
Alright. We are slightly delayed tonight. I fell asleep and then went to Asda, and then we got distracted searching for new website names and found bigbooble.com. So that's coming soon, obviously, from the people at Moron Rants.
You and your bibble.
Absolutely. So we're recording finally, we think anyway, in HD, depending on how well this goes tonight. Touch wood, fingers crossed that we didn't see any massive lag delays or anything. We'll give this a punt. Hopefully.
Well, we'll see what happens. Tried this a lot. I do have a new laptop now, so hopefully.
Let's hope so. We're confident in the technology. More confident anyway than last time, but not quite there yet.
Not sure I've seen us in HD's any benefit though.
No, well, probably no. I think if anything, that's a hindrance. Just listen to the audio-only version if you're any sense in you, I suppose.
I wouldn't. I reckon who's watching us live in video. Well, no live. But...
No. Well, hopefully nobody other than the neighbours outside the window. But
well, that's you and your blinds.
Oh, didn't start me on blinds again. Jesus, they're up. Nobody's pushed anybody through them yet. Anyway, thankfully.
Give it time.
Oh dear. Anyway, and that is a point. The restrictions have eased, but we haven't had people round yet. I think we've been in each other's house since. Well, it would have been last March,
year.
probably.
Aye. That's for first week into you can actually enter somebody else's house.
Mm-hmm.
Monday
Absolutely.
the 17th that started.
When as we record this, 1 week. But I suppose the first bit of news is that from the announcement today that everywhere else, we were already in tier 2. Is it tier 2? I think so.
Yes.
Aye. So everybody's staying in tier 2. Glasgow and Moray were both in tier 3. And Glasgow's now the only place in tier 3. So everywhere else you can go into folks' houses. I think, is it 6 people for 2 households or 4 people? I can't remember. I think it's 6 people for 2 different households.
I want to say it's 6 for 3, but aye, let's put that.
Maybe it's 6 for 3. So, I mean, nobody's really paying that close to the attention to details anyway. You should go to St Andrews and there's 14 different households in one fucking 2-bedroom flat and they're all squeezed into one room. So, it's a bit of that. But aye, Glasgow will remain in tier 3. I'm sure the folk there will be excited and happy about that. But with all the events that's happening in Glasgow, folk protests and immigration, then Rangers folk jumping on things, probably hasn't helped on the matters. You can more about that than me because I just listen to the headlines and then turn it off. But I would imagine you'll have more information on the immigration person. Was somebody hid under a police van or something?
Aye, apparently.
In true form, I can fuck all in detail, and now I've left it to Dees to carry the show as the voice of reason.
There's not really much to say, is there? This was people. Home Office turned up to take them away, and people went, "No, it's not happening." And
I'm a bit baffled though, because surely, they did get their way, but then surely if the Home Office turned up, there was a reason for it. The guy must have done something or been there illegally. Surely, didn't they just turn up at a chippy and go, "Here, son, come with me"?
Yeah, right. Did you say the Home Office doesn't turn up at your door for no reason? Aye,
He could have been a murderer for all weekend.
Well, aye, maybe you could be a murderer for all I can.
Might still be. The day is young, as they say.
But aye, I do think I think what will end up happening is the Home Office will come back in a different hour. And
probably very early in the morning when it's still dark and the people like Glasgow are still steaming in their beds, locked in their house. That's maybe why they're still tier 3. They're not allowed out.
Could be.
But and then that wasn't really the story I thought you'd ken more about. You must ken more about the Rangers story. Like, so why were all these Rangers people out in Glasgow jumping about? And I don't care anything about football, so you'll have a wee bit more information on this. I'm positive of that.
Celebrating. It was title day. Got the league. So
So is that
the
the end of this season? I take it then.
aye Scottish Cup final still to be played between Hibs and St Johnstone, but the league season is over. I say that at the time that game's the morning as we record this, so the
All
season will
right.
be finished when folk are listening to this. But
Ah, I
aye, it
see.
was the last day of the season, so a lot of folk were there to basically celebrate winning the league. And it was a big march to George Square, and then inevitably, when you have a lot of folk there, and what I was doing, and folk are just no what to get on him and start drinking it, then ends up kicking off.
No, no,
Alcohol,
great.
a bastard.
Aye, but then you'll get the same line for the police and the football clubs. Oh, it's a small minority. I don't ken for that. Like again, I didn't watch the news very often, but it didn't look like a minority in the videos anyway. It looked like there was a fair few folk there. In fact, one of the stories that actually that I forgot that I was going to talk about that I've just remembered is that one of the guys that was pictured like in all these jumping on whatever in George Square was a serving police officer.
Ah, he's been
Like,
fined.
I mean, what a walloper! I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning anybody going and making an arse of yourself and pissing in the streets and whatever you want to do. But if you're a serving police officer, maybe you hold yourself to a wee bit higher standards. You'd like to think.
There's also Glasgow, so
Well, I know. Well, there's what the first candidate for our moron of the week. There, I think that could be considered as for that boy.
aye, there's probably a few would come away for the whole 4 days events, because it wasn't even just the protest on the about the Home Office turning up to try and lift the two guys for that house. That was on the Thursday, and then the Rangers on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday there was a protest of so many thousand about Palestine
Oh.
in George Square as well. So,
Why is it? It always seems to be Glasgow. Nowhere else seems to give a shit. Like there's no protest in Kirkcaldy High Street or even in Edinburgh. It's just it seems to be Glasgow that gets it.
I'm not sure we would have the same uptake if you had let it do in Kirkcaldy High Street.
I don't think anybody gives a shit. To be
Uh,
honest, I mean, I'm surprised the people in Glasgow are really bothered. I mean, I get the football thing, but I do get the rest. Not really sure why they're so bothered. Don't get me wrong. Like if it was like if it wasn't the Home Office and it was random people coming up and trying to like steal people out their house and put them in a van, and take them away, I can understand why you'd be a bit concerned. But to me, if the Home Office is coming to take somebody, then there's a reason for that. You must be here illegally, and then in that case, you either need to apply for whatever it is, asylum or whatever it is, to be here legally under the right system. You can't just swimming in a boat for fucking China and plant yourself in a house.
well, apparently they've been there for about 10 years.
That's also a
Which
bit baffling why they've
aye,
been there for 10 years and never fucking noticed it.
they can. You hate
That's
it. You
just
would
our
think
legal system.
they would have popped up somewhere, surely on some system. Just maybe nobody's noticed. I reckon. It doesn't
Madness.
make sense.
No,
That was,
maybe
I
they
think,
went out and voted. Maybe they voted in the election and that got their names flagged.
could be registered to vote.
I don't know. It is baffling. I mean, I'm no condoning, as I say, but it's very confusing.
I did find
But
it
then,
funny though. I know there was one politician in Glasgow who was urging every Glaswegian to go out onto that street to stop the Home Office for lifting them. So it's interesting that you get politicians just picking and choosing and all when things are
aye,
regarding the
when it
pandemic.
when it suits their
COVID's not
agenda,
an issue now this time.
aye.
This
Well,
suits
that's
my
it. We hate
agenda.
it.
I want to peddle.
Aye, well, that's how you hate to remember that. Oh, I get the vaccination thing's rolling out, but we're still at the stage certainly where we can afford to just be gone mad and grouping up in massive gatherings. We obviously talked in one of the previous podcasts about them trialing things, but at this stage, I haven't seen any results for that yet. So probably a bit early for mass gatherings and stuff, which, regardless of your agenda, if it's for or against it, you should probably be just, especially if you're an MP or a politician, can maybe put that first. I don't know. But again, this is me. This is me sounding sensible, right enough. So we have taken a spiral out of here.
Surprised you've not went on a big deportation rant for the.
Well, I mean, let's see how we want to word this. Let's see how we want to word this. This might require some serious editing later on, but I'm all for like people that want to come into the country because they're trying to escape, I don't know, murderers, all that sort of stuff. I get that, and there's a process in place, rightly so, for that. But folk that just want to come in for a jolly and gather their benefits, that pisses me off, and I would deport them. And I didn't ken the situation. I don't know the circumstances for this particular case because obviously, having researched it, won't research it. It's done. But if there's folk coming in and have been here for 10 years and that are working and that are contributing to the country, then it's not like I'm a crazy racist that wants to just chuck anybody out that's no Scottish. That's not the case. It's the wasters. I would quite happily deport some of the Scottish people that just want to sit on benefits, pung out fucking bairns every 5 weeks. They're the people we need to be fucking deporting. They're the folk that are a scourge on the fucking society and we want rid of. It shouldn't be based on racism as it so often seems to be. So you're right. I'm very pro deportation, but it would be
The thing I
certain
was
groups
going
of
to
people
say,
I'd want rid of.
well, what I was wondering, I was going to say, have you ever did become supreme leader of the country? I could see that the thing of oh, you like cheese? Nah, you're not getting in this country. You've been deported. No cheese allowed.
I didn't mind cheese on a pizza or on like a cheese doofer stick, mozzarella stick type thing. That is the exception to the rule, but cheese anywhere else
I think
is just rotten.
I would say that would give you a potential Moron of the Week nomination just for that. I do like cheese, but if it's on a pizza or encased, that's fine.
Yes, that is my exceptions.
It's genuinely a great experience going to McDonald's with you when you get your order on. And, like, you going, can I get a hamburger, please? Because I do like cheese. And can I get mozzarella sticks? And just the look on the person's face is like, what?
Uh, it's a bizarre thing, but I have spoken to different people, and there are a lot of people that agree with me that they don't like cheese, but they will eat cheese on toast. No, I'm no for that, but there are some people that will eat cheese on toast and that like cheese on a pizza, but that's it. They will only just like eat a block of cheese or like a ham and cheese sandwich. That's a no no.
I do like cheese either, but I do, well, kind of would have a cheeseburger.
It's one of these weird ones. I suppose it's like Marmite and covered in cheese. I don't know.
Either like it or yeah.
For in certain specific situations. But
Well,
that's also how I feel about the deportation thing. I don't believe it should be based on like if you're no from this country. I didn't believe in that. It should be we want to keep folk in the country that want to work and contribute, whether you're from Jamaica or fucking Indonesia, wherever. It doesn't bother me because it's 2021. I didn't see this whole thing where you need to stay in your own country. Look, the world's no that big a place now that we've got air travel and everything, or boats for China. But there, some of the people that all these racist folk want to deport and get out of the country are the people that are here working, doing jobs that probably some of these definitely all these lazy bastards didn't want to do. They want to do any jobs. And the call to get rid of them because they're not from here, that I don't agree with. However, there's folk that are just, oh no, we can't deport anybody. No, I think we should deport people. I think the fuckers that are know what to work because, well, I've got 17 bairns, I've got 18 and 19 on the way. Once I find somebody that's willing to look at my knickers and take them off, they're the folk that we need rid of. If you can't contribute and you're just sucking the life out of everybody else in the country,
I thought you were going to say something else.
well, there is a bit of that as well. But You get what I mean? There are these fucking. That's my biggest hatred is the wasters, people that are just take and contribute nothing. Especially when I look at my payslip and I see the fucking where the tax goes, and it just it goes to the fucking council to fix roads. They fix the roads, and it goes to whoever else to pay for folk that are like if it pays for benefits for people that need benefits because they're disabled or they're whatever they've lost a leg, blown up in Afghanistan or whatever, I'm all right with that as well. I'm not saying everybody needs to work and contribute, but the people that are just like, oh well, I'm bipolar today, but I had ADHD yesterday, and in the morning I might have fucking SADS or whatever the fuck they make up new thing of. My mental health is deteriorated because I've got a fiver this week instead of a tenner. You hate to give me a tenner next week. They're the fucking bastards that we need to deport to fucking China and let them work there and see how they like working fucking 18 hours a day for £2.40 and a chicken nugget. Then we'll see a different side of them, I think.
Well, I was going to say that's a perfect link for. Have you looked at my story?
I have not. I genuinely haven't looked at any of your stories
I was going
whatsoever.
to say
I've not
because
even fucking looked at my own stories.
I was going to say because that's a perfect link because one of my links is about a Chinese guy on KFC.
Wow. Well, genuinely, 100% that was an absolute fluke because in true form, I have done zero preparation for this. In fact, if you look at the show notes that we prepped beforehand, you'll see I've got fuck all in it. And I've definitely not went in and read what your stories were. I was intrigued to hear them. So that link was very good. And if we just edit this bit out where we revealed that, it will sound professional.
Well, I'll go on to my story, or do you want to talk more
I
about
think
this?
you should. No, I think I'm happy. I've had my rant about wasting slagging bastards, panging out bairns.
I'm sure
Let's
he'll.
go back to fucking Colonel Sanders in China.
I'm sure he'll pick back up on that in a later pod.
Most likely.
Anyway, this was, as I say, it's a story about KFC in China. So I'm going to apologise to the Chinese community for my pronunciation of Chinese names here. Uh, so,
Should probably apologise for me what I did put all your wankers earlier as well.
I think they'll take them. They've got enough people in their country without taking any more. But anyway, so there was a student in China who had managed to exploit an online voucher system for KFC. So this was quite some feat for me, I think. So he discovered a glitch in KFC's online ordering system, and he managed to manipulate this voucher, and he'd done this for about 6 months. So this meant he was getting free food for KFC. So I'm assuming that must have been some kind of the KFC's phone app, and it was a voucher that you probably got for God knows what, a KFC bucket, a bargain bucket or whatever. And somehow he managed to manipulate this to just continually get the voucher. So between April and October last year, he managed to generate
Well,
endless
this
free
went on
food
for some time.
vouchers. Aye, so this is 6 months he managed to get these free food vouchers. This switching between the KFC app and the company's store on a WeChat, which is China's equivalent to WhatsApp. Um, so he found that he could place an order using the voucher, but it would also still remain in his account. So he still obviously kept his voucher and was getting free food. And he then decided that what he would do is he sold some of the meals for a cut price to his classmates while also eating the food himself as well. So it turned out that he'd ordered roughly 6.5 grand, £6,500 worth of free food in between this time. And he also, as I say, shared the secret with the 4 friends that he had. So collectively, they took a combined total of £15,500 worth of food before they were eventually caught. Now that they've been caught, they've been jailed because obviously it's theft. So it was this week
Wow.
at a court in Shanghai. Zhu, the boy's name was jailed for 2.5 years and fined £700 over the scheme. His friends were jailed for between 2 years and 13 months. So aye, they've
Bloody hell.
it turns out a KFC a day doesn't keep the jail away. But it's just the sheer when you
Well,
figured
no.
this when you figured this out, I thought, right, I could get free food. 6.5 grand's worth this guy's tin for his sale for. I don't know, he might have been sharing it with other folk as well outside of these 4 guys who were using the voucher. But £6,500 worth in 6 months. You're talking just at £1,000 a month on KFC. You must have been going there every fucking day. I love chatting. And I
Well,
quite
that's
like
it.
KFC, but I wouldn't be going there every day. It's the sheer greediness for him to be thinking, right, I've got this free. Maybe just a wee bit of savvy to go, I'm getting this free voucher. I'll maybe just go once every so often to use it and they'll no notice.
I don't know. Maybe he was thinking this is going to run out soon. I better just can
Make the
milk it
most
for
of it.
all I can get. Aye,
Six
but
months
then
later.
so I can see obviously it's wrong, right? But it's KFC's system that's allowed that to happen. So should he get? I don't know. Should he get jailed for that? I'm not so sure. If they want to give him a promo code that gives him free food, and they did take it off
Aye,
him,
but
then
the thing is, it's because he's manipulated the system.
all
So
right.
it
So
was
he's
some as
actually
this.
went in and thing with it.
Aye, so it says it was the day where it was something to do with switching between the KFC app and then the company's store on WeChat, whatever. As I say, that's meant to be China's equivalent to WhatsApp. But I didn't see how that
Aye.
really. I did get how that's worked in his favour, like, but he's obviously found something out that he could do, and then uh, it's allowed them to keep the voucher going. But aye,
But yeah,
he,
you do make a point though. You get fucking sick of it after so long. Like after I think the first week, I'd be like, oh no, name your chicken for me.
I think you could just mix it up and go somewhere else every so often. But that for £6,500 worth 6 months, that's quite a lot of KFC. But I love KFC. I quite like a boneless banquet. It's great, but aye, I just didn't think I would be doing it every single day.
Well, that's one thing that boy. That boy obviously differs for you, and it's went every fucking day.
It was good.
The irony, I suppose, now is he's got to be eating fucking bread for the next 2 years.
Well, 2.5 years in the jail. And they can maybe get out half time, good behaviour. But it's fine,
Do you
£700.
think
I
that's
don't
a
know.
thing in China? Is it?
Oh, I have no idea. But when they were caught,
You're lucky he didn't get his fucking hands cut off earlier.
the charge was obviously fraud. They were that was what they were charged with. So would you do that with McDonald's? Can you
Dear
be a
me.
McDonald's man? I suppose with
I
McDonald's
am. I am a McDonald's man.
you could mind you, KFC does other things as well, I suppose, in certain countries and that. Thinking what
My
KFC,
my
what's on the
issue with
menu in China?
KFC isn't. My issue with them really isn't the food. It's usually the cleanliness of the restaurants didn't tend to be very nice. That's what puts me off them.
Aye, there's one or two in our area. But there's other ones, as I say, Edinburgh, you're usually alright. It's good still. Good for a meal. No, I've
Uh,
not had. That's the one thing with the lockdown. Though, I've not had a KFC in probably about 2 years.
that being said, if I was being offered it free, then I'd be going for it.
Well, beggars can't be choosers.
Well, this is it. Let's move on anyway. So that's a thing that was free. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Did you like that transition? And look at something that costs a fortune. So this is one story that I prepped earlier that come up on Facebook today. So the council is going to spend £10,000 to increase a 20 mile per hour zone to a 30 mile per hour zone. Now, does that sound reasonable? They spent well. It was only 4 or 5 years ago that they spent the same amount of money making it a 20 mile an hour zone, and the reasoning behind reverting it back is that people have decided that the right speed is 30 mile an hour by ignoring the 20 mile an hour speed limit, and the people have spoken apparently, and that now requires that we change all the signs. And now I'm not talking about like miles and miles of signage here. I'm talking it's 400 meters. So I don't know what that is in miles. It's not even a quarter of a mile. 400 meters, like you could do that. Well, I couldn't do that, but there's like a 400-meter fucking sprint. So
I
it's
was
no,
going to say,
it's no.
how, how quick would you do that sprint, Mark?
Absolutely not. But like there are people that do that, so it's not a massive area, right? For in any amount, 400 meters, you could walk that in I don't know a minute or two. So you could literally see usually you can see 400 meters ahead of you. So we're not talking about a long bit of road here, and no a lot of signage you would think to change from 20 to 30. They're usually no big signs either. It's usually attached to a lamp post. It's got a wee 20. You would, in case you could go along with a marker for a fiver and can just change the 2 to 3. Um, but it's
You
going to
say you
cost
could.
them 10 grand.
Aye, I suppose they kind of. You think you should just be able to. Suppose it depends what type of signs they are. Are they kind of that bit comes off at the top? Can you just take the 20 bit off and put a 31 on? But they kind of they've got to take the whole actual thing out and then replant another one into the ground. But the thing with this seems to be that you're changing this just because folk aren't sticking to it. It's like, well, can you start doing that on the motorway? Can it's 70 miles per hour, but no, actually, I think it should be 100.
Well,
So if enough folk drive 100, will we just change the speed limit?
well, I, well, that's it. You know what? That wouldn't happen. The police would enforce it. I think what's happened here is that the police have went, well, we're not enforcing the 20 mile an hour zone.
And,
That's
and
not
it's
really
a
in a
bit near
residential. This
Martinch.
the bit of roads. It is. It's between Markinch and Balburney Estate, I believe. So it's in the middle of no fucking place. There's nobody there. And I think the actual wording was that the road feels, or the suitable speed for the road feels like it should be 30 mile an hour. The consensus from the road users is that 20 mile an hour is not a suitable speed for that part of the road. And to be fair, I didn't disagree. Like, it doesn't need to be a 20 mile an hour zone, but I'm happy. Like I'm not disagreeing with the decision to make it a 30 mile an hour zone. And my questioning would be, why is it costing you 10 grand? I mean, just do nothing. Like everybody, as they're saying the new, everybody's driving 30 mile an hour in it the new anyway, and police aren't enforcing anything. So if you do nothing, it costs you £0, and you get the same outcome. But they're going to spend 10 grand, probably no fix any of the fucking potholes that are on the road, to change the signs to 30 mile an hour,
I don't know,
and
the
there'll be no
budget for
different
that will be
outcome.
10. They've only got 10 grand in the budget for it, so it's going on the signs now instead of the potholes.
Exactly, it's baffling. It's a waste of £10,000 that, as I say, if they do nothing, they physically just sit and do nothing about it, the outcome would be the same as what's going to happen after they spend 10 grand. The only difference will be the signs that nobody's reading anyway will say 30 instead of 20.
And then when
I,
that
I
happens,
just They'll
folk will be
start doing
going,
40.
aye, it's like, well, I got this up for 20 to 30, if I still got this day 40.
Yeah, yeah, possibly. But I can't understand. I would like to see the itemised bill how you get to 10 grand, because 400. Let's say it's a 400 meter patch, right? So let's say they do a sign every 40 meters, which is over. There'll not be a sign every 40 meters. I wouldn't have thought, but let's say there is. So there's 10 signs. So it's going to cost you £1,000 per sign, £1,000 to thing a sign. It's just no possible unless you're paying the person to change the signs £950 per sign.
Did it say anywhere how many signs are going to change?
I don't think it does, but I will check on the story. 2 seconds. It's following poor compliance with the lower restriction. 85% of all traffic going through that route was doing 30 mile an hour.
Well,
It was not an appropriate speed for that road.
my big thing is, well, it does say after surveys, but it's like, So they've obviously done put like a questionnaire. How much? What speed do you normally do in this road? Maybe no tell them what the speed limit was. Nobody just came back with a 30. Because I think folk would normally align. I kind of said the speed limit on this road is 20. How much do you do? Folk would normally just write 20.
I think it's they put the things down on the road, the bump things that test it.
Right.
Every so often you see like a couple of wires going down, and that takes the average speed. I think that's what they mean. I don't think they mean like an actual asking people. I think they put like tester strips out, and they've seen that
But
most people do 30. I think is how that happened anyway.
in fairness, can four folk might be doing 20, but when you've drove there at 100 mile an hour, then that's got to bump up the average speed.
Well, here's a quote, right, for one of them. The £10,000 bill relates to additional measures that will be introduced to ensure the speed limit is complied with. Transport Officer Dujan Silver, who knows what the fuck his name is, said this could include pedestrian islands, speed bumps, and dragon's teeth, no idea what the fuck they are, markings that encourage motorists to monitor their velocity.
So what they're basically saying is, we'll not just go. People are going faster than we'd like them to, so we'll go up the speed limit, but then put in other stuff to slow them down.
They're putting in pedestrian crossings. As far as I'm aware, it's in the middle of no place, Balbirnie and back of Markinch. I don't think there's any pedestrians to cross. Um, and speed bumps. But
And
again,
there must be a reason why it was set at 20 in the first place. So it must be a
I have
stretch
no
of road
idea.
that's because you wouldn't can most places are 30. That's what's mind the advert if you hit a child at 30 compared to if you hit them at I can't mind if it was at 30 to 40 or 20 to 30.
I
Uh,
think it is.
um, I just find it bizarre that the thing that strikes me about it is it's coming back to this thing as well, like we just spoke about with the thing in Glasgow with the Home Office. It's like, well, if it just didn't if it didn't comply with the law, then fine, we'll just change it.
It's baffling, and even so, I'm looking more into it that they're going to do extra measures like putting in speed bumps. Right? Okay, I'm still not seeing how you're getting 10 grand. Again, it doesn't cost that much to put in a speed bump, surely. So they're getting, I don't know. I think somebody's obviously giving them a pot of 10 grand, and they've went, "What can we do with this? Spend it in Mark Inch because who the fuck? We've no spent a penny there in the last 4 years." As can be seen by all the roads that need fucking potholes filled in, they could really spend the 10 grand, send one guy out with a load of fucking tar and like fill all the holes in, which are no longer
Well,
potholes and are mere fucking craters.
as you were saying, if it was just the speed limits thing that was the issue, then you would do it for a fiver a sign, just put a three here at the
Aye.
top of the two.
Well, that's it. They're not difficult. I mean, it's not like you're having to put new posts in or anything. You would just unscrew or can get one of the wee young team Neds to come out with a baseball bat and smack off the 21, and then you go, you just screw in a 30.
By the way,
Local
that's
community.
a lot of folk would actually be up for doing that. Kind of if you just put an advert out saying, "Look, by the way, we're needing some folk to come along and kindly destroy these signs. Would just anybody like to do it for free?" And then
The young
obviously,
team would be round in a fucking second.
uh,
It probably would do more than the 400-metre range we're needing done, but
well, might,
aye.
might be a lot more damage. Like,
Probably. The car's next to the signs getting a pelting and all.
we've seen the thing in Swansea with the car that got set on fire.
No, I didn't. Tell me
No,
about
you know,
this.
see, there was riots in Swansea. I've not got really any news in the story of
Oh.
that. I just seen there was riots in Swansea the other night. The car got
What were the
set
riots
alight.
about? Was it just people realising they were in Swansea and got
I've,
upset about that?
well, might be. I've honestly no idea. I just it caught my eye earlier on the day, but I never really looked into the story. Oh,
Ah,
but I could
strange.
be.
Folks riot for the most ridiculous reasons.
Well,
Probably.
I was going to move on to another story that would a person might hope might have a similar outcome to no sticking to a 20 mile per hour speed limit and that just upping the speed limit. There was a Scotrail passenger recently who was forced to cough up more than £3,000 after being caught dodging train fares for almost 2 months during lockdown. So this was a woman who'd been travelling from Bellshill in North Lanarkshire to Haymarket in Edinburgh, but instead would falsely claim she'd boarded it at closer railway stations, including at Uphall, Slateford, and Curryhill. She was eventually caught via CCTV after Scotrail launched an investigation following an alert over the misuse of the ticket on departure uh, option from the ticket machine at Bellshill. So they took action as part of its crackdown on customers attempting to travel without paying amid the pandemic. Because obviously, if you remember, the ticket inspectors off for
Mhm.
certain periods during lockdown and that for their safety. Yeah. Um, so the rail operator said more than 500 fare dodgers have been caught with more than 10,000 tickets confiscated via spot checks by mobile teams. So it operates more than that's just information about Scotrail, but over £3,000 this lass has been fined. Some amount
Good.
of fare dodging.
Aye, quite right. I mean, let's be honest, it just puts the prices up for everybody else with these bastards that didn't pay for their travel. If I didn't use trains very often because it's a fortune, and the reason it's a fortune is because that they're everybody that's buying a ticket is paying a percentage to the people that aren't paying to recover that.
I always find it funny when you can either getting the train through to Edinburgh and obviously you get on at your stop and you can see all the kind of maybe if it's a parked train and ticket conductors not being able to get up and doing obviously there's folk on it without tickets but they hate to buy one once they get to Waverley because they can't get through the ticket barrier. It's amazing how many folk where did you get on about Dalmeny?
Aye.
Single for Dalmeny please. Every single person going up. Surely, obviously they're bound to ken, but obviously they can't prove that you've not got on there if
Aye.
you're at the ticket booth.
They're sleek bastards, and it just puts the prices up for everybody else. So, no, I'm quite right. I'm glad they're investigating. I wonder how much money they spend to investigate it, but I'm glad that they're catching folk and finding the fuckers. So they should.
I like the trains, but the one I will say is train fares are quite dear. You're about
Oh,
like
definitely.
£24 return to Glasgow for us. Probably even more now.
The thing is, though, so I take she was regularly commuting, I assume, to be thinking up this amount. But if you're
Aye, gonna have
regularly
to be.
commuting, you can buy a season ticket, or you can monthly passes, or an annual pass, which makes it cheaper. Surely that would make more sense, other than just try to fucking jimmy it and then knew she's got a £3 grand fine. But
It was funny you're talking about this thing when folk come out about saying minority. That was the Scotrail head of customer operations said a minority of our customers have been taking advantage of the fact that due to coronavirus restrictions we've been unable to put the ticket inspectors on our trains or at most of the stations. Well,
I'd go as far to say, though, I don't think it's just due to coronavirus. There's these chancing bastards even before all this coronavirus. I mean, like, dodging train fares is no a new thing that's come about. I can see why
no,
you
no.
knew that the mayor of them would chance it, where obviously there are no being ticket inspectors on, but then most of the big stations you go through, especially Edinburgh, Glasgow, you're going to get barriered anyway. So
Well, there's you get to if you get to certain trains sometimes if you get into the right platform you do need to go through the ticket barrier. So
yeah, true. But
if you
then
could plan that
you
right.
didn't ken that ahead of time. You don't know that ahead of time what platform it's going to come in on usually.
Yeah, usually it's the London trains, then they come in usually through the barrier.
Uh,
But
but I have
no,
had
no, that I'm
occasionally when I've
not
went
that
to
I'm
Edinburgh.
condoning ticket fare dodging.
No, I mean there is ridiculously high prices. I get that, but then the ticket dodgers are part of the fucking reason. So pay for if everybody just pays for the ticket, then the prices wouldn't be as high. Um, Simple as that. Especially if you're a local commuter and you've racked up £3 grand worth of fines. I'm assuming that the fines they've generated that number for the amount that she's caused them in losses. They've not just pulled a random number out their ass, I would
I
imagine.
think what they'll end up doing once they catch sort of somebody, they'll then can the CCTV and that will be checking them.
Aye, they'll go back and
Um,
investigate, and any ticket she's no paid for between the full distance of when, well, you've paid £3 and it should have been £15 or whatever the difference is, and they'll have calculated it. For a minute am I believing that they've just made that number up.
No,
What
no.
what they probably haven't included in that number is the amount of labour and hours that's went into investigating it, which has probably cost them more than the £3,000 and man hours to investigate all that in the first place.
Aye.
Which is what they should be fucking fining her as well. So they would probably just find her the difference in the ticket, but they should fine her, in my opinion, they should fine her the ticket and then they should add on additional fees for all the effort that's been generated to actually catch the bastard.
We Susie in the office is at the work 10 hours cash and you her
Well, that's the
wages
thing.
three.
It's easy to say, oh, we've reviewed CCTV, but like at my job, I've been on the actual CCTV reviewing side of that, and it's not just a case of you go to a computer and press a button. You usually have to spend some amount of time reviewing hours and hours of CCTV, and it's not something that just it's not something you just pull it in 5 minutes and go, well, there's Susie there. There's usually quite labour intensive work that goes into finding all that the right people at the right time and recording it all and making sure it's all documented and blah, 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 blah. So I would not be surprised if there has been some serious amount of money spent on just that one particular case, but Scotrail's bound to be spending a fortune across the board trying to tackle that.
Well, I'm
Money
sure
that would be better used getting the trains running on fucking time.
what you try to say about Scotrail?
I'm all for catching dodgy bastards. I genuinely am, because they do cause prices to go up for everybody. However, Scotrail, I can't be too nice about them because none of their fucking trains actually run on time.
That's not true. I've had a Scotrail train on time before.
Must have been a fucking rare day then.
A while ago, right enough. I've not been on a train in ages. But
The thing that baffles me is they know the commuter times. They ken the times coming out of Edinburgh, 4, 5 o'clock. They know the times, and yet that's no when they have the biggest, or certainly in my experience, they didn't put on the biggest trains. I've been on like a 2 or 3 carriage train coming out of Edinburgh at 5 o'clock, and then I've been on like a 6 and 7 or 8 carriage train going into Edinburgh at like 2:30 in the afternoon. It just makes no sense, in my opinion, and how they run that the peak time should have the more fucking carriages on. I'm the fucking Inspector Einstein, but aye, they need to spend more money on developing a better train strategy than catching dodgy bastards. And I always go back to the thing with no bother finding them, just cut their balls off. Death penalty them.
I was going to say, you're introducing a limit on Nick and how much you defer that you've actually dodged. Kind of like you're not just getting your balls cut off if you've paid a fiver for a journey that maybe should have been £8.
No, I'd cut your balls off for that too. If you've stayed on one stop extra and you didn't plan on paying for it, then that's theft. Balls cut off. Sort it.
As I was one of the things I know is like you get that thing when folk jump on a train, like you've not got a ticket, you'll have to get off at the next stop. I was only going the one stop, mate.
Aye. But see, that would be resolved if we brought in my thing of cutting their balls off, because nobody would do that anymore. They would be
Or
too
just
scared. They'd be like, "It's not worth it. I'll pay
just
the £3. I will keep my balls intact."
open the door halfway, and can that point you realise you've not got a ticket, you're needing to get off. Just whoosh, launched out.
No, I wasn't thinking about that, but that is 100% a good idea as well. Just right out the door. I agreed. Right in the middle of a field and somewhere in Markinge, probably getting hit by a car doing 30 or 40 mile an hour now because the 20 thing's been fucking taken off after we spent 10 grand on it.
That could potentially be near the railway track, actually. Aye.
Exactly. See, Lincoln stories in there. Like the craziness that could occur with fucking Fife Council and Scotrail get together, the things that we could accomplish, and for the money, Christ.
Conquer the world, day too.
Oh, God help us all. But I'm glad that she's been fined. I'm quite on the side of doing that, but they need to take a look at their actual business strategy and think, are we spending the money in the right place here, or could we be better just running actual trains? But I suppose their argument would be, if people would stop dodging, we could spend more money on better trains. So swings and roundabouts. Aye. Have we got any other related stories?
Eh, no one that I could link into that, I do think.
Oh dear. Well prepped show this, as always,
Aye.
obviously. The professionalism in Moron Rants is just second to none.
Try to
At
think.
least you have come prepared with stories, in fairness.
Aye. You know, I could link into talking. Well, actually, I can link into it talking about expensive travel journeys.
Oh,
Did you see that there? Look at that. I've better tell you the story first so you can that make sense. So there is an American golfer. Who
Tiger
currently
Woods.
he is an American golfer, but it's not that American golfer.
All right.
It's no, let's see if I can pronounce his name right. His first name's Bryson. That's the easy part. DeChambeau. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, he'll currently be competing at the PGA tournament, which is on the new big tournament in the golf. Well, it's on as we record this, obviously. Time you hear this, you'll ken who's won. Might be Bryson DeChambeau. But anyway, a few weeks ago, he was at a tournament. I'm trying to remember where this was at now. In Charlotte, in America. So anyway, he wasn't having a good start to this tournament, Mark. Right? He had he even I think he either doubled or triple bogeyed the hole. So he was coming
That's
towards the
what
end.
she said.
He was coming to the end of his round, his second round, and he was sitting in about 90th plus. He thought, I need to birdie this hole to have any chance. He didn't birdie, he missed the putt. Parred it, thought, nah, that's it, done. No way I'm making this cut. So he decided right there and then, well, come on, just go in. So he went to the airport, a private jet, 3 hour flight back home.
Obviously.
So as I say, he was in. This was his words. He says he was about 90th place. So they said, let's pack up, let's go. Wanted to get ready for next week and go home. So anyway, he's on his flight back him, and about halfway through the journey, gets a message for his agent. You're now at 68th. It's like, what? That can't be right. Apparently, conditions had sort of worsened at the golf, and they kept getting worse as the time went on. So, folk that were obviously playing later on in the day were getting worse and worse scores. And by the time the round had actually finished, he had made the cut for the next day. So he eventually, when he landed back in, I can't even remember where his house was, or where he was flying back. Anyway, he he had arrived basically back him to find out he'd made the cut. So he tried to get the the flight crew to see if he could take him back again, but they couldn't do it for their times for working. So he then had to leave at 2:45 the next morning
Oh,
on his 3 hour flight so he could get there in time for the next day for his tea time for the next day. It's just his quote on it said when he was asked about it, he said he admitted it had been an expensive waste of 2 private flights that had also rendered him very tired when he began his third round. But he was delighted with how he responded. He said it was way too expensive. But the thing is, I've a chance to go and make a good check this week, and I think that would offset it. So if I was to not come back and withdraw, lose world ranking points and all that, I had to incur the cost. So that's my fault. But he went back there and done it. So, uh, and
the Greenpeace guys will be after his fucking neck. He's not that flight fuel.
well, I think you wait to maybe put some of his check towards
Plant a couple of trees.
some banana trees.
Ah, dearie me. Ah, well, there you go. It just
But
shows you should never
it's
have
never
a
over.
negative attitude and assume
Aye,
that you've humped it. Huh?
it's never over till it's over. And
Until the fat lady sings.
aye, or the conditions worsen.
Thing though that around that, so if the conditions were worse, surely that they should have, I don't know, had some sort of system, like some balancing system to like think of that out. Because if somebody plays in the sunny weather and somebody plays in the rain, surely that the conditions should
Yeah,
play a part of their score.
that's just your what happens generally with the tea times is that you'll get in the first two rounds you'll get a morning session on the one. Well, get you they'll basically like split in a half, so you'll get a morning one first, and then the next folk will go in the afternoon, and then they'll reverse for the next day. So you've got that potential
Uh,
thing, but
it just
uh,
seems a bit strange
it's
that in the morning, if there's no wind and the person that plays and gets a good score, and then in the afternoon there's a 50 mile an hour fucking wind in your thingy, it doesn't seem, I don't know. I'd be questioning that if
it's
it was
one of
me.
the things with the sport though. It's it's the one thing you can't predict the weather.
No. I wouldn't be playing fucking golf anyway. I mean, life's too short. Let's be honest. Fucking walking about with a stick, kicking balls about. Oh no, no for me. But then it
A good
must be a
job with
pretty
it.
good career. He's got fucking private flights, so
Well, aye.
he's doing better than me anyway. So,
So I say it was getting snows over Stein near the home of golf or anything.
oh god, see when I've had to work in St Andrews when there's fucking golf's on in it. Oh, that you want to cut off your end balls instead of dealing with that. Christ.
No,
Oh.
you could buy them for a shop, surely. You didn't need to play with your rainbows, and of course.
Best to avoid the whole bloody thing. Pretentious folk, golfers, fucking foreign American folk coming here. Oh, Christ, no. It's just mere hassle than it's fucking worth. They come here and spend a lot of money. I get that. It's good for St Andrews, high profile, blah, 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 whatever. But the folk are fucking obnoxious. They just are. I say it as I see it. I'd rather just no deal with that altogether. I'm hoping no. Hopefully, no be working in St Andrews the next time the golf comes to St Andrews.
So you've either got pretentious golfers or Chinese folk taking pictures of pigeons on tappy cars.
Oh, sometimes it's just stone walls. I've seen folk take pictures of a stone wall, like no even just like for further back. Like this is a big long wall. Like I'm talking about a couple of inches from the bricks of the wall, zooming in, taking a picture of the brick in the wall. It baffles me. It's fucking bizarre. But this is what you see in tourist places. I wonder if we're when we go abroad to places and we're doing tourist things, taking pictures, if we look just as fucking stupid and annoying as the people that we see here as tourists.
Probably.
Probably, I probably agree with you. But then I wouldn't go
It's like,
abroad and take a picture of a brick wall.
well,
Uh,
what they can me. You've got your Zapkas.
well, very true.
With some folk in
Uh,
Poland walking past going, what the fuck are these clowns taking pictures of a shop for? They know
I
they
have
know hay
the thing
shops in
is,
Scotland.
well, the thing around that, or the background, the fucking context to that is that
There
I've
was
never
a
seen so many shops in the same place. There was a Zabka on every street, if no two on the same street. You could walk out the door of one, and you could see another one for the door.
they must have had more Zabkas on the street than what there is 20 mph signs on that stretch of road.
You could probably build one for less than the 10 grand as well. It's going to cost in fucking Poland. That's mental.
Aye,
I have
probably
to
aye.
say, I have to say that was a good weekend. I really, with the weekend we went to Poland, I really enjoyed that. Never seen as many Zabkas, and what I do can't even mind what their money was called. I think we ended up calling it Zobkas, but
It's,
it's not called that, is it?
I do mind you asking me what the currency was, and I tell you it's Polish zloty, and then you still just didn't believe me. You thought I just made it up. Like, no, this is
I
zloty.
thought you were. I genuinely thought you were ripping the piss at me. I thought it was the euro, and then you come back with zlotys or fucking. Oh no! But it turns out it was right. I was cautious before I went into the like currency exchange place and asked. It's like, what is it? Because I did ask, what is the Polish currency? Fully expecting them to go. It's the euro, and no, and they come out with zloty, and you should have seen my face. I was like, fuck, these was right. He
But
wasn't ripping the piss.
I take it like you were surprised with that.
It was good.
Well,
It was a really good weekend.
speaking of holidays, look at this. I'm getting
Oh,
great at this linking shit together now.
I know, Chris, you could get a fucking professional job doing this.
Well, what I was going to ask you, would you double book a holiday?
With a
I.e.,
double, but like, how do you mean?
if let's say we're gonna go on holiday in the first week of June, I'm gonna book a holiday for that first week of June in say say up north, say Inverness.
Uh
I'm gonna
huh.
book for a week up in Inverness, but I'm also gonna book that exact same week in Ventura, just in case actually get to go abroad.
I suppose under normal circumstances, definitely no. I would just book the one place. Under the current circumstances, I can see why somebody'd maybe do that, but with a caveat, you would be looking first to make sure what the cancellation policy was on it about, what the refund policy was, or if you can just put a deposit on like a hotel in Inverness, and I didn't mind losing 20 quid if I can get abroad. But I
Well,
wouldn't book two holidays and pay for two holidays. That would be mental.
this seems to be the new thing, obviously, with the restrictions that are going on. So there was a couple in the news. Uh, I'm not sure where they are, but they basically what they've done is they've booked 2 holidays for the same week, and this obviously made the BBC news.
Sure, it's a fucking slow news week,
No,
obviously.
they've booked for Ventura, hoping they can get to go there, and it's they did say it might be Norfolk if it's no.
It's quite a difference there, aye.
But I think the reason why it became a news story for this is that they've latched on that there's actually quite a lot of folk doing this. Um, I just thought it'd be interesting what the thoughts are on that.
Aye, so under normal circumstances, obviously, I wouldn't do that, but I can 100% see why somebody would do that now, like booking something abroad, but with a realistic expectation of I might not be able to go on this holiday abroad, and have a backup in reserve. It would be just about how you done it. You would have to make sure that it was like a sort of fully refundable policy on it. Like you can sometimes do that with booking.com. You can book it and you can cancel it up to like 2 days before and no have any
Aye,
repercussions type of thing. I would probably look at something like that. Or being honest with you, I'd probably just book the abroad one and then if it was getting kiboshed at the last minute, just go and see what they're because you can generally go can somewhere in Scotland and get a B&B or that pretty, you know,
that was
instantly
kind of
anyway.
my thinking. I don't think I would actually double book. I would just can sort some
It
last
would
minute.
it would
That
depend on if it was somewhere specific you wanted to go. Kind of like if you
aye,
had like we've done cottages like up north before. If we have had a few that were really good, and if we wanted that specific one, like a certain what I don't know, it's a hot tub or something. You've been there many times. I can see why you'd maybe do that, but like if you just wanted a general area, then usually you would just lastminute.com it. You get cheaper then as well, usually anyway.
I suppose as long as if you've had enough notice to give the one that you're well, obviously you're the one that would be getting cancelled will obviously be the one at him. So
Well,
as
that's it.
long as
I
you give them
remember.
enough notice,
So we 2020 we had a lot booked. So we had our honeymoon booked 3 and a bit weeks across in America. Partly booked through like say booking.com ebookers, that type of thing. And then another part was through Airbnb. I have to say, like ebookers and I can't remember whatever the other one is, booking.com, they were all great. So as soon as it was obvious that we weren't able to travel because the what it was a world global pandemic, they refunded it, like no questions asked. We didn't even have to like ask about it. It was just automatically refund it. Got an email saying, "Look, this restrictions are in place. You can't go." Airbnb wasn't quite as thing about it, so they put a thing up on their website, which basically confused a lot of people because you could cancel it right away and take a voucher for 50% or whatever. And like most people, I went, well, you can fuck off with that. I'm not losing half my money and only getting a voucher to use with you again. That's no right. Um, so it eventually rolled out that you could cancel if you could prove that you couldn't get to the destination. And I don't know what they wanted as proof, but I basically just took a picture. I can't mind an email. I think I got a PDF of the email for British Airways that says, "Well, you can't fly to America," and put in the comments that I'm in Scotland and we're like with the Airbnb was for California. If you can find me a reasonable way to travel there, then fair enough. Otherwise, no reasonable person could could no use this as evidence that I can't I'm not choosing not to go. Like we cannot physically get to
just
America.
can't.
Your country has said nobody can come in. Um, It was just madness. But it was just everything to get every bit of money they could at you. And I can understand it a business, but at the end of the day, it's no people's fault that this has happened. Um, give them their money back. And we eventually did get it, but it took ages. British Airways was quite funny as well because they cancelled. We didn't book a return flight, so to speak. It was a set of flights going out and a set of flights coming back. And they had, so the flights there were all cancelled, but the flights coming back, I can't remember, Vegas to London flight was not cancelled, but the London Edinburgh flight was cancelled. So they wouldn't cancel the whole thing until the whole thing was cancelled, or one of the two. I can't remember. But again, that was a case where we had to email off somebody and say, look, this doesn't make any sense. I can't, like, I'm not going to fly there for one. So how can you possibly think of a flight back? And also, you've cancelled the flight from London to Edinburgh for obvious reasons. But how the hell do you think folks going to get from California or Vegas to London? It's just fucking madness. The fact that they didn't just do a block cancellation and be upfront with these folks, and I think that's maybe why people are doing the backup thing. Is there will be a lot of people that had really bad experiences last year with holidays, I would imagine.
Aye.
But for me, I wouldn't be looking to go abroad this year. That's just my assessment of how things are the new. I wouldn't be doing it. I think it'd be nice to go down kind of Lake District or up north, somewhere in country or like the UK. But I think it's too soon to be going abroad at this point. That's my assessment.
A lot of folk got excited with the okay, get back abroad and they're straight away. I suppose it's up to the individual, but I think I would be. Well, it means you saying that. We'll see what happens with the football. might get away for a trip or two.
You know, the thing is, there's a lot. So I've spoken to different people that are also keen to get abroad and can usually do a Spain holiday every year or whatever, and they're like eager to get away to Spain as well. But then they've also got the reason which I didn't think about is that it's fine if you can get flights there, but is everything that you normally do there going to be
Yeah,
like
be
available
open,
today? Exactly. So it's not just a case of you can now get a flight to wherever in Portugal or Spain or whatever. You might well be able to get a flight there, but it's not going to be the same experience, or I wouldn't imagine it would be the same experience.
Yeah, that's when your things are maybe going to be different for a wee while. I did see we were talking about. Obviously, you got all these different variants and that they keep going on about, but the situation they've got in Bolton and that, with the increased cases and a lot of folk getting their vaccines. But did you see the woman on the news that she was outside in the must have been the high street or wherever it was, and the reporter asked her, can the variant got you worried or that?" And says this was her direct quote. Bear in mind, this is her standing in a high street, saying this. Like, well, I'm really worried about it. In fact, I won't even leave my house.
Excellent.
You sure about that? They're actually standing in the street right now.
Impressive, absolutely impressive. Some of these idiots, but I mean, the variants and whatever. It doesn't. I don't think it really concerns me any more than what the overall thing has concerned me. It's about common sense. So wear your mask. Folk that are no wearing masks really annoy me unless you've got an exemption. Right, I accept that. But folk that are just choosing not to do it because they like it. Well, again, just for the new till we can get on top of this, just do it. Vaccines are rolling out. I think they're coming to our age group soon. I think America's flying on with it as well, pretty strong. I know, like, I listen to a load of podcasts that are produced of across America. There's a lot of people that have got their 2 doses. I think it depends, varies state to state, obviously, on the progress of that. But then you also hear from other countries that I think are significantly further behind us. So it's obviously going to take some time to propagate across the world. But we seem to be doing a good job here. I don't know about you, but I've not had any letter yet. We're not in the current age group, but I think we'll be soon. Terry, she got a letter. She actually got the letter a month after it was sent because it was sent to her old address. Might be a blessing though, because she was supposed to get the jag that is linked with blood clots. So because it was a month later, she got the letter. She had to phone up, obviously, to reschedule it because she had missed it because the letter went to the wrong address. And they rescheduled her appointment on the day that it was announced that they were no giving that to under 30s, I think they said. I think it's now up to under 40s, but at the time it was under 30s. That the day they announced that, so she went to her appointment thinking she was getting it, and it was announced that day that it was Kaibo, so she still hasn't had a jag either. But she has had a letter, or, well, eventually. But aye, we'll get there. I mean, I still see folk kind of thing when it, nah, that's no for me, I'm not getting it. Well, that's fine. Again, if you die, then I've not really got any sympathy for you. Like, if you're being offered, the like a vaccine for this and you refuse it, then that's on you.
Well, that's true. It's the only thing you could really do during this is look after yourself, and it's obviously the things that you do that are important. You didn't need to. You didn't need to actually do some of the stuff. I think we talked about this before, but when they were trialing the gigs and folk were moaning about it, and like, well, you didn't need to go. At the end
No,
of the day,
exactly. It's no mandatory.
you can look after yourself, and you wear your mask. It's the best chance you've got of avoiding the virus is by your own actions, no anything else at
Well,
the end of
that's
the
it.
day. So
Absolutely, the restrictions are eased that you can have 6 people in a house for like 3 different households or something around that. Didn't quote us on any of this stuff, but again, it's no mandatory that you have to do that. If you still feel you're you're no confident enough to do that, then by all means, dinna. Like there's no requirement for that to happen.
I
Um,
say, would you like me when next time I see you to give you a hug? Because we could do that now.
no, I would
I
not.
can't know how much you love personal contact.
I didn't like people touching me before it, and that's not going to change now.
That's
I'm
what she
quite
said.
happy. I'm quite happy with the no contact situation. I'll be good to go and see people again. I admit that'll be good because Teams and Zooms calls are good, but it's not the same. It'll be good to just to see folk again in person. But as far as physical contact, no, I'm quite happy to remain at the social 2 metre distance, and that should just become a permanent thing. To be honest, just keep your distance. Nothing to do with
Well,
COVID. Just do what you need me.
now, on that note, I think I was going to start maybe wrapping up, but I was going to give you a wee recap for remember your week one.
Mm-hmm.
You remember week one, the first podcast,
Vaguely, it was a blur now, but I
and
do.
and your pal Cuthbert or Cuthbert as you would call him.
Cuthbert, absolutely.
Well, this is a story relating no about Cuthbert, but Colin the caterpillar.
All right. And where does Colin made from? Is he Asda?
No, he was. This just shows you how much you remember about this now.
Oh, is he the M&S one?
Aye, he is the main caterpillar, as
Ah,
they
right,
would say.
okay.
But a
So he
Dunfermline
had his day
chippy.
in court.
Well, wait till you hear this. The Dunfermline chippy has now got into it. So what they're
Oh
giving you
dear.
now is you can get into this chippy in Dunfermline and get a mini Colin the caterpillar cake, deep fried. Deep fried
Oh
Colin the
god.
caterpillar cake. We wonder why the life
Dear me. Are they
expectancy is so
actually
low
buying
in
it from
this country.
M&S though?
I've no idea. It does say
Well, there is that.
it does say a mini Colin the caterpillar cake. So do they do mini ones in
I think they're
M&S?
just buying a packet of Swiss rolls.
Maybe.
No, I bet you they're just buying a packet of Swiss rolls.
But I thought I
Oh
would
god.
let you kin. I thought you'd
Oh
maybe be
dear.
interested in that. And then I was maybe going to end the show with this last wee thing.
Huh?
Nicknames. Uh,
Absolutely. You carry on, sir.
I was reading this earlier on today about people and they've been telling stories about folk can their mates' nicknames. So here's just a wee sample of a few of them. And remember that word there because that comes back to my last one that I'm going to stick, and that's going to be my moron of the week
All right.
nomination. So
Okay.
these are just, this must have been a thread somewhere on social media, but this guy's sort of compilate it, some of the better ones that the ones that he thought was better. So there's this one guy wrote that there's a guy at work that has one leg shorter than the other, which causes his head to bob side to side as he's walking. So he's got the nickname Sniper's Nightmare.
Oh,
So the
dear.
other guy, it's called Wayne Bruce, so his mates call him Man Bat.
Excellent.
There's another guy who says that there's a lad that I know who's an electrician, and one of the old boys he works with who's about 70 and also an electrician. Can what he gets called? Jurassic Spark.
Oh, dear. Uh,
This other guy wrote saying that one of my dad's schoolmates was called Photo Finish. That was because he used to always walk with his top half leaning forward. So he was always like, uh,
oh, dear.
and another said my dad had a mate who had got half his ear was missing. Doesn't say what side. So his
Van
nickname
Gogh.
was his nickname was 18 months for the reason because he only got a year and a half.
Oh, oh, Jesus, I thought you were going to tell me he had got his fucking ear cut off in prison or something.
No,
Oh,
that was how
God.
he got the nickname 18 months because he's got a year and a
Ear
half.
and a half. Fucking hell.
Uh,
I was 100% expecting you to tell me somebody bit it off in prison or fucking shoved him in prison or something, but no, no. Brilliant.
this one, somebody said that they've got a friend that I was walks in front of them when they walk, so he got the nickname Fat Nav. But
Oh, God.
my personal favourite and my nickname for the nickname for this nickname, Jesus, the nomination for this story for Moron of the Week is obviously I don't know how long this is. Must be ages ago, but this guy said that my mate's got the nickname Sample. And that's because when he went to join the fire service, the woman had gave him a brown envelope and the tube and asked for a sample. So he went away and gives the brown envelope back to the woman, and then the lassie screams. And she just screams, "No, I meant a pee sample." He'd only went away after the toilets and jacked off into the sample. Uh, to be
Oh.
fair, that really could have been. He could have got. The reason why I like that as well is that there's a lot of other things that could have been put as that. Can the fact instead of having given a pee sample, he's ejaculated into this tube and gave you a sperm sample. They just went with the simple sample was his
Uh,
nickname because let's be honest, that could have been a lot worse for his nickname. You can imagine if he went
aye,
further.
aye, definitely. Aye.
If he went further up in the fire
Oh,
service.
what's
Oh,
the.
well done, Captain Jizz.
Oh, oh, come on, never mind. I'm not going there. Let's know. Oh dear. So that's your nomination for Moron of the Week.
I think there's probably a few nominations for there. I think obviously the Chinese boy, he for being just being a
Aye.
greedy bastard
I
basically.
think that's Moron though. That's more a fucking chancer. He's chancer of the week, certainly.
Well, your fair dodgers and all come into that, I suppose.
Fucking chancer's alright. But
But
they all got their comeuppance, so.
but I think that's my moron of the week. As I said, I can how long ago it was, but when you get about an
That's good.
envelope and
I
a
like
tube
that.
for a sample and you give the wrong type of sample.
Do you think for the context that'd be fairly obvious? But however, I think for me it's close. It's between that and I think the council spending 10 grand on 30 mile an hour signs. Although I think looking more into it, they're going to do more measures to reduce car speed. So maybe no. But I'm happy to go along with that. I think we're in another week. We're going in an agreement, and there's no actual debate on that. That we're going to give sample more on the week because that is pretty good. I hope he does go further in the fire service because you can imagine the later titles he's going to get.
It's the one thing it doesn't actually say. It just says it may goes to join the fire service. So I do kind of know
Maybe
what
did
them
they
though.
get to join?
I
Probably
do
didn't
hope
they
he
get to
did.
join after that.
And I hope that's when that's certainly his work nickname as well. Or
Could you
they might
imagine
get
that?
worse.
Could you imagine his retirement? The stories when he leaves.
I remember when
Oh
he
dear.
first joined the fire service.
Oh dear. Well, I think we've rambled on enough for another week. So we'll thank our listeners for paying attention. We'll remind you that as well as releasing our weekly podcast on a Friday, which you can get us on Apple Podcasts, the other podcasting, Spotify. There we go. Spotify, Google Podcasts.
Bibble?
If you've got Booble, if you've got certain iPhone or I believe Android applications, Overcast, Pocket Cast, that type of thing, you'll notice that in the podcasts you can actually add chapter titles as well. So there's some funny commentary that you can pick up on that if you've got a podcast app. Spotify doesn't allow the chapter in. But we are there. We also record a live video. Before, the quality tended to be pretty well. It was through Teams, so we got what we got essentially. This is the first one we're recording in HD, so hopefully we should look and sound better if you're watching this on video, which is available on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Moron Rants, and on our YouTube page. Everything that we do is all available on our website, moronrants.com. That's where we link to everything. But I would very much appreciate if you have a look at our website, leave us a review on any podcast apps or iTunes that you view, join our Facebook page, YouTube subscription if you have anything like that. It just promotes us a bit more, and we're really enjoying this so far. Or, well, I'm really enjoying it anyway. I can't speak for Tees. I would hope he is as well. And we do plan in the future now that we've got this better system to have more guests on and have more listener participation and stuff as well. Some back and forward, some any comments, any stories you want us to talk about. We're always keen to get feedback. I think that pretty much wraps us up for another week on Moron Rants. So I'll say goodbye for me.
And bye for me.